question. The
Okay.
prosecutor, is that another prosecutor or with Judge McCauley? I mean, I'm sorry, with Mr. McCauley?
Yes, Shama Iqbal, SHAMMAIQBAL.
Oh, I'm fast, but not that fast.
I apologize.
I do. I'm sorry. Could you give it to me one more time?
Yes, ma'am. It's Shama, SHAMMA,
Uh-huh.
and the last name is Iqbal, IQBAL.
Got it. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
You should have said common spelling.
Common
Make her figure
spelling.
it out.
Just to, make sure she's on her game.
Right. So we'll bring out Cedric Jones first. Come on up, officer. I know you're sleeping.
It's about 15 minutes.
Oh, 15 minutes. Doze off, officer, until we get started. I've been you. I get it. What's that? Yeah, it's fine. You know I'm. Keep it down, officer. Taking me. Mr. McCauley, which case are you here for?
That is position number 4, dorming arm.
Come on in. Which case are you here for? Number 6.
We can waive all the prelims and just go home.
Right?
It's back. I got wait for this one.
The word was. There's nothing to waive if you dismiss him.
We're not into misdemeanors, you know?
This is a child. Child. Yeah, no. No, but I can. I mean,
Yeah, the officer was out there.
who usually does CAC?
I put the, I let it on one.
And what did she say?
I just let it on most times. Sometimes they do respond and they say.
Okay. Oh, so you already let her know. And did you get a response? I don't want to overstep. That's the only reason I'm asking.
I don't think she's a fan of that, Mom. I don't think she's a fan of that issue. She keeps trying to take it off.
Okay. I'll check. I'll call her or talk to her in a second. Yeah, I just need to pull up the case.
Mr. McCullough, is there any of them here we didn't have the officers subpoenaed? Know about while we're waiting to get the inmates up?
Yes, Your Honor, I'm ready.
Since we're waiting on them to get the inmates up, is there any cases that, like, the officer
Yes.
wasn't subpoenaed or anything we can address while we're waiting?
Yes, Your Honor, and Ms. Beck is getting in contact. In position number 2, Your Honor?
David Hamilton? Yeah.
Yes, that case was reset to this date because of an ex parte order as of right now. I spoke with Ms. Cora Jameson yesterday just to see if I needed to subpoena my officer, and she said as of right now, the person has not been restored.
Okay.
So I believe she's
Okay,
calling her now.
so that one will need to be reset out further, right?
And that's the only one that does not appear to be going forward.
Officer, just give me what case you here for? David Hamilton?
Okay, I guess that's true.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're just gonna find out how long she wants it set back out for? Okay. Ms. Watts?
Yes, Judge.
So we're gonna reset position 2, but we're trying to get word from Ms. Correa, how far out it needs to be reset.
Okay, I can go ahead and give you a date. We're scheduling for those particular cases for July 13th.
I don't know if that'll be long enough. So we're trying to get a date because there's an ex parte they're waiting on.
Thank you. Do you, so if they don't
Process.
show up, you usually end up doing it? If they don't show up,
Yeah.
you usually end up doing it?
Yeah. So you can ask if she needs till July or if she needs a sooner
I can
date.
do
We
it.
can
I'm
reset
not-
it. We'll hold off on that date though, Ms. Watts.
Okay,
Trying to bring up Cedric Jones.
Okay.
We're just
no worries,
waiting
I got
on.
it. I'll take care of it.
What about the officer in position 5, Freddie Huff?
Your Honor, I spoke with her, the detective Edwards or investigator Edwards. She is on her way, Your Honor.
Okay, gotcha. What about the Travis Johnson, position 7?
Your Honor, I believe the officer is here.
Officer's here, she's in the hallway.
Yeah,
Okay,
and I'm
gotcha.
gonna go talk to her right now, Your Honor.
Okay, all right. So we're waiting on the officer for Freddie Huff.
And I think I spoke to her this morning also, Your Honor. So she is aware she's on the way, Your Honor.
Okay. No, that's fine. It actually cheers the courtroom up to have a baby in here. Right, right. She's very happy. Oh, yeah, that was an order on the 14th, said not competent, so. That was filed. There's an order on the 14th of April, said not competent.
Okay, she finally answered and said, let's say August.
Okay, Ms. Watts, you got an August date?
I don't at the moment. We haven't been given the dates for August just yet. That's why I was saying I had September, sorry, July 13th.
All right, so, yeah, so when will you get the August dates? Do you know, or can you just like write it down?
Probably
And
not till June. I can put
Okay.
it for August, but then it may be reset to a different date.
That's
Is
fine.
that
Oh,
fine?
yeah, that's fine.
Okay, let me get it.
You know which date you're gonna set it for?
I'm looking right now, Judge. We can do August the 3rd.
Okay, yeah, and you can just tell her it may have to be reset, but we got August 3rd. Okay, sounds good.
Is that gonna be at 9 AM? Or I know we don't know yet, but just,
We can do 9, they're gonna be on the safe side.
thank you, ma'am.
No problem.
I just got an email from Miss Barnes from Sheriff's Office, said they're still trying to clear the inmates from the detention center downstairs, so.
Oh, no, I'm fine. Yes, ma'am. Oh, no, man, look, I'm fine. Appreciate it.
All right.
Judge, we do not have Cedric Jones. He's not, I don't know if he's in our jail or what.
I saw him yesterday.
You did? Okay. Okay, because we have released on my sheet. They're gonna see if he can be brought over.
He wasn't, what'd you say?
He's not downstairs.
Okay.
He's not on a court sheet to come up in court.
All right. So I mean, it's gonna have to be, yeah. I mean, they, not a whole bunch. Sorry, officer.
Nice.
So what's an off day for you that would be a better day to reset it when you're not here?
I'm off on weekends.
Oh, man, you've been there a minute.
Mr. Rose will be here. I will not be here on the weekend, sir.
No. So how long, Ms. Watts, for it to be, is there a day that works better?
Well, it don't really matter to me.
We'll just make sure that we take you. Okay. Is there a day that works what, seriously better?
It
No.
don't really matter.
Okay. Would you rather be at 9 a.m. right now?
Oh, right.
How far out do you want this to be, Judge?
If we need to reset it, how, like a week or two? You got any vacation or anything coming up?
Yes, I do actually.
When's your vacation?
May 24th through the 1st of June.
Okay, so he's on vacation May 24th through the 1st of June.
Okay. May 24th. Do you want to bring him back on the May 23rd or May 18th?
Is it 9 a.m.?
Yes.
We can do the 18th.
18th.
Okay, the 18th is fine. Which case is this?
Position 1, Cedric Jones. He just
Okay.
returned from Department of Corrections on April the 2nd.
Okay.
So, but Ms. Kennebrew just gave LT his new booking number, so we'll make sure we,
Okay, so we can reschedule it for May 18th at 9 a.m.
okay. We'll do that. I mean, I don't know if they're going, if they would bring him over here specifically, so why don't we just do that so we can let this officer go since he's been up all night. All right, go ahead, officer. Thank you. Stay safe, drive safe home. All
Thank you
right.
very much.
Anybody else been up all night? You have, what's your case you here for? Travis Johnson. Yeah, I got it. Number 7, Travis Johnson.
respectfully in regards to that position right here, I understand that sometimes the inmate is not here, the officer was here sometimes, and I feel the note section. I just
Right.
wanna make sure that, because I'm saying you just got.
Yeah, we'll put it there. Let's see. Ms. Fisher, could you put in there that the inmate wasn't brought over on Cedric Jones, but the officer was here?
Yes, Judge, I will.
Thank you. Yeah, just make sure so we'll know.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Uh-huh. Come on up, man.
Use mine.
Raise your right hand. You swear affirm testimony about to give is the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you can have a seat. Speak into the microphone, state your name, spell it for the court reporter till we get the inmate out here.
Officer Shatima Amos, first name Shatima, Shateema. Last name's Amos, Amos.
Madam Court Reporter, can you hear?
I can, Judge. Thank you.
Okay, just making sure. All right, when they get him up here, we'll start.
And Judge, just for a clarification, would the court prefer me here or at the?
Whichever one makes you more comfortable. I'm not that picky. Come on in, officer.
Thank you, Judge.
I'm not that wrapped up in the black robe. I'm just a regular white woman in a black robe. That's it. And when I leave, guess what? I'm just a white woman. All right, we got him here. All right, position 7. It's 2-2, CP 215006, Travis Johnson. 128 days without indictment, and no bond as of December the 29th, 2023. Counsel, you asking for waiving?
I'm sorry,
I
Judge.
mean, obviously they don't know. You asking for waiving of sounding, but I'm sure they're gonna know once we talk about it. Waiving of sounding of charges.
Yes, Judge,
Okay, I'm sure they'll actually know what it is once we start talking, so I guess it really won't matter that much, but the officer's been previously sworn. Go ahead, and they've got the ADA's name. Do you need anybody else's name, Madam Court Reporter?
No, Judge, I'm good to go. Thank you.
Okay, all right, go ahead, counsel.
Good morning, Officer Amos.
Good morning.
Please state your position at your current position as a police officer.
My current position is with Griffin Police Department.
And what do you do for the Griffin Police Department?
I'm a police officer.
A patrol, patrol officer. And how long have you been doing that?
I've been there since March
March of
of this year.
this year. Okay. And where were you working prior to that?
College Park Police Department.
And what was your job at
Patrol.
Patrol? And are you post certified?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you post certified on December 17th, 2022?
Yes, ma'am.
And were you involved in a case on December 17th, 2022?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Please tell the court where you were dispatched to.
I was dispatched to 3100 Gobby Road, apartment 2J.
Is that in Fulton County?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was the nature of the call?
It was in reference to child molestation.
Okay. And when you arrived on scene, who did you speak to?
When I arrived on scene, I spoke with the victim's mother, Miss Williams. Shortly after the victim came out, Kendall, so I spoke to the both of them.
And so what's the mother of the victim? What's her first name? Do you remember?
Kamisha.
Okay. And when you spoke with Miss Kamisha Williams, what did she advise you?
She told me that she had looked through Kendall's phone and she found a recording that was recorded like 2 days prior. And she said that it was Mr. Johnson and Kendall inside of the video.
Were you able to view the video?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did you observe?
I observed, well, you couldn't really see any faces. You can only hear voices. It was a man saying, "Oh, are you going to do me like that? Put your phone down." And then you can hear a young child, which Kendall said was her, screaming really loudly. And then you can hear faint moans and groans.
And how old is Kendall?
At the time, she was 9.
9. Okay. And once you heard the video, what did you do next? Or once you saw the video, what did you do next?
I asked Ms. Williams if I could speak with Kendall. And so I went into the living room and I spoke with Kendall, Ms. Williams, and Miss Barbara Cannon, which is Ms. Williams' mom.
And what did you learn?
Kendall told me that In the video, it was her, it was Mr. Johnson. She also said that it wasn't the first time. I asked her how many times did she think it happened. She told me approximately 3 times. I asked her when did it start happening. She told me about 3 weeks prior to the day that I was dispatched there. She also told me that, well, Ms. Williams told me that it was not Mr. Johnson's first time of being accused of child molestation. So I had my sergeant go ahead and do a criminal history search, and it did show that Mr. Williams was on probation for child molestation.
Okay, and what was the relationship between Mr. Johnson and Miss Kamisha Williams?
So Mr. Johnson is Miss Williams' mom's husband.
So is that Kendall's grandmother's husband?
Yes.
Okay. And you mentioned that Kendall told you that he had touched her at 3 different occasions at least. What did she describe as the touching?
She said that he touched her breast in her vagina area.
Did she mention anything about penetration of any sort?
She did not.
Okay. And did she tell you it was 3 separate times or
she said about 3 separate times.
Okay. And each time did he touch her breast and vagina?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. And do you know if any other minors lived at the house?
Yes, ma'am. Miss Williams has 2 other children that weren't there at the time. I did ask Miss Williams about their whereabouts. She said every day, Monday through Friday, Kendall will be the first child to get home. So Kendall usually gets home around 2:30 in the afternoon. So between 2:30 in the afternoon until when Miss Cannon, which is Miss Williams' mom, until she gets home. And she gets home with the youngest child at about, I think she said about 5:30. So 2-3 hours, they're home alone together.
And she's home alone with Mr. Johnson at the
Yes,
time?
every day.
Every day? Okay. And did anyone mention anything about any change in behavior of Mr. Johnson?
Yes. So when I spoke to Ms. Williams, I asked her, like, what made her think that something was going on, or what made her look through the phone, looking for anything. And she did tell me that Mr. Johnson and Kendall's relationship, it started to be like a little weird to her. She said that Mr. Johnson would start making demands of Kendall, like for Kendall to cook for him, or sometimes clean up his room and things like that. And she said that it wasn't normal.
And did Kendall mention how it started, how the touching started, or what prompted it?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. And do you see Mr. Johnson in the courtroom here today?
Yes,
Everybody
ma'am.
can remove their masks, please.
And you look around the courtroom. Can you please point him out and identify? You can stand up. If you need to.
Okay. So Mr. Johnson sitting right there. He has on a white long sleeve undershirt and a blue shirt over it.
Your Honor, let the record reflect that the witness has identified the defendant, Mr. Johnson.
Noted.
And after that, did you do anything else in this case?
No, ma'am. It was just turned over to CID.
Perfect. Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, Cross?
Is it okay if I move to the podium so I can see the
Absolutely,
witness?
sure, whichever.
Good morning.
Good morning.
The video that you testified about, that was on the alleged victim's phone?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And what was the lighting like in the video?
The video was blurry. I wasn't able to identify any faces.
Could you tell if it was taken indoors or outdoors?
No, it was blurry.
Could you tell if it was light or dark?
No, ma'am. It looked like the phone was maybe up against something.
Okay. And did you get any information about how that video was taken?
Kendall said that she took the video.
Okay. And was that video, is that video now in evidence for this case?
Yes, ma'am. Sergeant Dorsey with College Park Police Department, he has it on his Axon.
Okay. Is Sergeant Dorsey, did he respond to the scene as well?
Yes, so Sergeant Dorsey responded, but he had seen Mr. Travis Johnson traveling down Old National Parkway after he had left the apartment, and he arrested him.
Okay. Was that the same day?
Yes.
When you responded initially to the home, were you by yourself or were any other law enforcement personnel with you?
It was another officer there that responded with me, Officer Stalling.
Stalling?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And when you responded to the home, were you wearing a body camera?
Yes, ma'am.
Was that activated and working and on?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so all of the conversations you've told us about so far were captured on your body cam?
Yes, ma'am.
And that's been preserved for evidence?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have the date of birth for the alleged victim?
I can check if it's on my report.
Go ahead.
Sometimes it's blocked out since she's a juvenile. Yeah, I don't have her date of birth, ma'am. It's blocked out since she's a juvenile.
Okay, but you said she was 9 years old?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, when you spoke with Kendall at the home that day, you did not speak with her alone, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Her mother and her grandmother were present?
Correct.
After you spoke with her that day, has Kendall been interviewed or questioned by any other members of law enforcement or by anyone else about this case?
I'm not sure, ma'am. I'm not employed with College Park anymore. I just know that it was turned over to CID. I don't know which detective has it.
Okay, so you don't know if she ever had a forensic interview?
Correct.
Am I correct that your investigation and interaction with this case ended the same day that it started?
Correct.
Okay. You stated, I believe on direct, that my client is the boyfriend of the grandmother, Miss Cannon?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know what the status of their relationship was at the time of this allegation?
Miss Cannon did tell me, she told me that they were married. And she did tell me that they were having some issues. And she also said that they have not been sexually active in quite some time, and she felt that it had something to do with the incident.
Okay. And did Kendall state that these occurrences, I believe she said it was 3 times this had happened. Did she state that it always happened between those hours of 2:30 and 5:30 in the afternoon?
She said it always happened when they were home alone, and I was advised that those are the only times that they're home alone.
Let me go back to the video for just a second. Were you able to see the date and time that that video was recorded?
Yes, ma'am.
What was that?
I'll take a look at my report.
Sure.
If that's okay. So it was 20 seconds long and recorded on Thursday, December 15th at 15:10.
12:15:22 at 15:10. So that would be
3:10.
PM?
Yes.
Okay. And okay, so it was 2 days later that the mother went through Kendall's phone and found the video.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that correct? Okay. Did you ask Kendall, are you aware if she ever took any other videos of that nature?
I don't recall if I asked her, but I know that that was the only one she had
Okay.
at the time.
All right. We talked about a change in my client's behavior. Did Miss Williams or Miss Cannon state that they'd noticed any changes in Kendall's behavior?
Not that I recall, ma'am.
All right. Now, were you the officer who actually took out the warrant in this case?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, but you did not make the arrest.
Right.
All right. Was there any physical evidence collected in this case?
No, ma'am.
And do you know if my client was ever questioned or interviewed about this?
No, ma'am, I'm unsure.
Do you know the ages of the other children who reside in the home?
I do not know their exact ages. I just know that they're all under the age of 18.
Do you know if any of them were ever questioned or interviewed about these allegations?
No, ma'am, I don't know.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Anything else on direct?
And I'm sure I covered it, but just to go back and clarify, Miss Cannon and Miss Kamisha Williams were able to identify the sound, the voice in that recording, and did they identify it as Mr. Johnson?
Yes, all three of them, Kendall, Miss Cannon, and Miss Williams said that that was the voice of Mr. Johnson.
Nothing further, Your Honor, from the state.
Anything else?
One moment.
Okay. A little bit lower. That's a live mic there, sir.
Officer, were you made aware during your investigation of whether or not Mr. Johnson was employed at the time?
Yes, Miss Cannon did say he worked on Old National. Can I check my report to see if I
Sure.
wrote it?
Objection, Your Honor, this is beyond the scope of the redirect.
It is. She just asked about the voice ID. Sustain. It's okay, Allison.
all
Anything
right.
about the voice ID? Any question there?
I don't have anything else to.
Okay. All right. Anything else for this officer?
Nothing from the
All
state, Your
right.
Honor.
Stay safe. I know you drove
Thank you.
up here and you worked late, so be careful getting home. All right, go ahead with the argument.
Yes, Your Honor. The state's going to ask, Your Honor, for 6 counts of child molestation, Your Honor. That's alleging for each one. You heard testimony from Officer Amos that the victim herself, the 9-year-old Miss Kendall Williams, advised that the touching started about 3 weeks ago prior to this date, which was on December 17th, and it was 3 separate occasions. I asked each time if it was separate breast and vagina. Officer advised that it was, that's what the victim confirmed, Your Honor. And so we asked for those 6 charges of child molestation, 3 for touching breasts on 3 separate occasions and 3 for touching vagina on 3 separate occasions.
All right, go ahead.
Judge, as to the one warrant that we're here for today, and that's EW-0387621, that is one count of child molestation. We would submit on the evidence that Your Honor heard today on that one warrant. I don't think that the state has met the burden for probable cause for 6 warrants. What we heard today is testimony about one incident, a video from one specific date, and questioning of the alleged victim and witnesses, mostly about that specific date. There were allegations, and I did hear testimony that the alleged victim claimed that this began 3 weeks prior and had happened about 3 times, but we didn't hear any testimony about specifics of that, when it happened, where it happened, at what time it happened, on what date it happened, exactly what happened on those incidents. So again, I think that I'll concede that the state has met the burden in terms of probable cause for the one warrant that we are here for today. I don't think that they've met that burden for any additional warrants.
Your Honor, as you know, that evidence presented and can be, and charges can be added by, requested by the state and added by the court regardless of what warrants are out there. Your Honor, you also heard that there were separate acts, and that's why we're asking for different charges, because not only did the victim tell Officer Amos that it was separate breast and vagina, that's 2 separate acts right there. She also mentioned it was on 3 different occasions, and therefore, Your Honor, we do believe that we've met the burden of preliminary hearing, yes, probable cause, Your Honor. Thank you. There's enough sufficient evidence. The victim was very clear. She told them who it was. She mentioned what times that she was alone with him, and that exactly that recording, Your Honor, as well corroborates that, because it's at the exact same time at when she was alone at home with the defendant. Given that, Your Honor, and his fact that he's on probation for child molestation, Your Honor, we would, I think that's sufficient enough.
All right. I'll go ahead and find probable cause on all 6 counts, because she did say it happened there, and when he would come home, or she would be the first one there, that he's on no bond as of December 29th. I don't know, has he taken care of, there's an outstanding probation warrant in Esmond Adams? Has that already been?
Yes, Judge, that has been taken care of. He was been revoked. I believe it's the balance, or at least 2-3 years, I believe, from what I read.
So it has been, okay, because it was.
That's correct, Judge. The balance was revoked. It was 3 years and some change.
Oh, okay, because it was still standing out here, outstanding as a warrant. All right, so go ahead, let's see. Go ahead, Miss Jackson.
Judge, sorry to interrupt. Well, if you could give me one moment, I don't think we're going to need to have a bond hearing because of the.
Well, we kind of do, because he's been in 128 days without bond, so he has to have a bond.
And I have an amount, so.
Yeah, no matter how high or low it is, he can't sit there with no bond. Go ahead, Miss Jackson.
The defendant has 16 cycles. The defendant's last arrest was October the 8th, 2021. I apologize, Your Honor. And that was in Fulton County for a probation violation. Those underlying charges are associated with the CWAC. And he's currently on probation for that. The case number is 18 SC 160053. That disposition date was February the 5th, 2019, and the term is for 8 years. The defendant does have prior felony convictions. So one in 2004 out of Mitchell County, Georgia, for possession of controlled substance, and one in 2003 out of Mitchell County, Georgia, for possession of controlled substance. Nothing in addition, Your Honor.
Is that state court case still open? 21 CR 000890 G as in George? I think it's under Judge Mather.
May I have that number again, please, Your Honor?
21 CR 000890 G as in George.
Okay, I will look that up for you, Your Honor. Just a moment, please.
All right, go ahead on bond argument. About the time you took a drink of water, right? Sorry about that.
Sorry, Judge. Your Honor is correct. He has been in custody for over 90 days without indictment in this case, so he is entitled to a bond. I've spoken with Mr. Johnson. He understands that regardless of whether he posts bond on this case, he's not going anywhere because he is being held On the probation revocation, I was in touch, actually received an email back today from Christian Adkins, who is the ADA who handled the revocation, who I believe will be handling indictment and resolution of this case as well. He's working towards indictment. So the hope here is that we can get this case indicted and get it resolved with some concurrent time with the violation. So, we'd ask the court to set a reasonable bond today, but Mr. Johnson does not plan on posting bond at this time because of the violation, the revocation, excuse me.
Anything, go ahead.
Yes, Judge. State is going to ask for $50,000 on each charge, Your Honor. This defendant, he is a danger to society, especially danger to children, and that's evidenced through the testimony that you heard, and also his past criminal history, him being on probation for child molestation at the time that this incident took place. Your Honor, he, I believe, would be a significant risk to commit another felony. Child molestation, Your Honor. I do believe that he could also intimidate witnesses given the nature of the relationship between the defendant and the victim's grandmother. And so, Your Honor, we would just ask for no contact and $50,000 on each one.
All right, no drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. You're going to have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew. Court, lawyer, medical, and employment. As long as you supply the name of your employer, proof of employment, schedule, and the exact location you're going to be working. Do you have an address where he's going to be living?
One moment, Judge.
Your Honor, I apologize. Let me read that case number back out to you. Is that 21 CR 0000890?
Yes.
That's not coming up for some reason. Let me try it in another way then. Just
Hold on. Go ahead,
Judge,
Counsel. Mhm.
if he were able to make bond, he would be residing with his cousin Kanata in Ellenwood, Georgia. He does not know the exact address, but if we're being candid and realistic with the court, he's going to continue residing at Rice Street.
Okay, all right. So it's 21 CR 0000890. You got to put G as in George at the end. It's a state court, since it's a state court case. It's still open? Okay, let's see. Okay, so stay away from 3100 Godby Road in College Park. No further contact with anyone under the age of 17. Let's see, ankle monitor. No further contact with Kendall Williams, Kemeshia, Kemshia Williams, or Barbara Cannon, Cannon. Everything. The 100,000 on each count. Best of luck to you, sir.
I'm sorry, I missed the number, Judge.
100,000 per count. Best of luck to you, sir. Okay, all right, let's see. Anybody else work overnight? Nelson, you worked overnight? Just kidding. Just kidding. You need to talk to her, you said? No, I talked to Mari. Oh, okay. Which case you want to take next?
That will be Alonzo Phillips.
Okay, Phillips, Alfonso Phillips. Y'all just kind of passed Sampson's around from person to person, didn't you?
Yes, Your Honor, but remember, I'm only here for
Oh,
the
yeah.
prelim. It is still Mr. Cazzoli's case.
Oh,
And he
okay.
did say that he submitted an entry.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, can I have her name?
Yes, my name is Turquoise Kennebrew, and I'll spell that for you. It's TERKQUYOSE. Last name Kennebrew, KENNE, B as in boy, REW.
Thank you.
All right, officer, raise your right hand. You swear a firm testimony you're about to give is the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth.
I do.
All right, you can have a seat, sit down, state, spell your name for the court reporter till we get Mr. Phillips out here.
Is it okay if I take the podium?
Sure.
Your Honor?
My name is Investigator Shaw, spelling JERMAINE, last name Shaw, SHAW. I'm currently employed by the City of Atlanta Police Department.
Okay, stand by, we'll get him out here. All right, this is 22 CP 2150 610 Alfonso Phillips, 128 days without indictment. There's a $5,000 good bond as of May the 2nd. Burglary in the first degree. Go ahead, Mr. McCauley.
Investigator Shaw, where are you currently employed?
City of Atlanta Police Department.
Were you employed with them on December the 7th, 2022?
Yes.
And how did you become aware of Alfonso Phillips?
It was a burglary at a residence. The primary officer took the report and I'm the investigator. I did a follow-up investigation.
Did you read the primary officer's report?
That's correct.
Did you become aware of what occurred through his report?
That's correct.
What was that officer's name?
Officer N. Nancy Evans.
And what address did this occur at?
1153 St. Charles Place, Northeast.
And what county is that in?
Fulton County.
And through your investigation, what did you learn?
Through my investigation, I was able to learn who the suspect was. He was identified through the victim camera. He also was in a struggle with the victim of the home that he burglarized.
So can you please walk us through what occurred at the time?
The said suspect, Mr. Phillips, he entered the home of the victim. While in the home of the victim encountered Mr. Phillips. A struggle ensued, and Mr. Phillips was able to flee the location on foot before police arrived. Soon thereafter, the victim was able to provide footage from his home surveillance camera and from the neighbor surveillance camera, a clear picture of Mr. Phillips. And based off that picture, the officers that was on scene, the officers that worked the area, was able to identify Mr. Phillips through that picture, which led me to my investigation.
And what is the name of the victim?
Larry Pendergrass. Larry Pendergrass.
And how did he gain entry into the home of Larry Pendergrass?
I give you the exact location. The victim left the mud room door unlocked.
And through your investigation, was you able to determine was Mr. Phillips a resident of the home?
Mr. Phillips, no, he's not a resident of the home.
Did he own the home?
No.
Did he have permission at any time to enter the home?
No.
What kind of neighborhood was this home in?
A residential area.
And can you please discuss what you saw on the Ring camera?
It was a still photo. It was a still photo of the suspect with the victim apparently kind of holding him or had him held down or kind of like had his arms around him, but he was able to get away.
And was that still photo in color?
Yes.
Was you able to see facial features on the still photo?
Yes. I also added that photo to the case management for the affidavit on the warrant. That photo is also uploaded to case management.
And the officer that identified Mr. Phillips, what zone do he work in?
Works in zone 6. That's the area that home is also located in.
And how did he become aware of Mr. Phillips?
Those officers were able to come aware of Mr. Phillips from a bolo. There's a Be on the Lookout poster that I created through our emails, and I disseminated it through the email to notify all officers in the area to be on the lookout for said subject.
Did Mr. Pendergrass identify Mr. Phillips at any time during your investigation?
No, he did not. Well, he provided information and he provided a photo. So no, he did not actually see him after the arrest.
Were you able to identify Mr. Phillips?
Yes,
And how did you identify Mr. Phillips?
through the 4K picture that was sent to me from the victim.
And after you had that picture, did you use any systems to determine the name and age of Mr. Phillips?
Yes, through his previous arrest record, through his previous encounters with prior officers and other officers in that assigned area, I was able to identify him.
Was there a particular ID that was used?
Oh, yes. So once he's identified through the other officers, I was able to run his name through our internal system, which is called Omnix. Now, Omnix produced another photo, which is very similar to the photo that the victim provided. So that Omnix system gives the ID, it returns the ID photo of Mr. Phillips.
Do you see Mr. Phillips in a courtroom at this time?
Yes.
Can you please describe an article of clothing that he is wearing?
He has a long white sweater with a blue overall top.
May the court recognize he has positively identified the defendant?
Noted.
Were you post certified during this investigation?
Yes.
Did Mr. Pendergrass suffer any injuries?
No.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, Cross.
Good morning, officer. Can you restate your name? My apologies.
Shaw, SHAW.
Thank you. Okay, and so Mr. Shaw, Officer Shaw, what was the date of the alleged burglary?
December 7, 2022.
And do you recall the time?
I'm currently reviewing the report. The report advised 7:21 a.m.
And you did state on direct that you were not the responding officer to the incident location, was that correct?
That's correct.
And the name of the officer that was in charge of the initial investigation?
Officer N. Evans.
Thank you. And were there any other officers that were a part of that investigation?
No, not, you had the officers that was in the area, canvassing the area after the burglary occurred to attempt to locate Mr. Phillips, the suspect.
Okay. And so you stated on direct that you did not receive a ring video, but you did receive a still photo, is that correct?
That's correct.
And it was from a neighbor's home?
That's correct.
What was the name of the neighbor that provided the photograph?
I wasn't able to speak to that neighbor. The neighbor provided Mr. Pendergrass, the photo from the incident.
So are you aware of any officers that made contact with that neighbor?
No, I'm not aware of that.
When were you provided the photo from the victim?
12/7/2022.
And the victim, Mr. Pendergrass, obtained that photo from the neighbor, correct?
Correct.
All right. And in the warrant, it stated that Mr. Phillips entered the incident location with the intent to commit a theft. What was the basis for that conclusion?
He was attempting to steal what you believe is a bike, and he wasn't able to successfully steal the bike from the residents. That's a theft that he was attempting to commit.
And where was that bike located inside of the residence?
In the mud room, it's a portion of the home that the owner called the mud room.
And strike that, give me 1 second. Was there any other video evidence of what allegedly took place inside of the residence?
No,
So how are you aware that Mr. Phillips was attempting to take a bike?
from the photo that the neighbor provided, the victim statement. Also, the bike was also recovered by the victim.
So inside of the photo that the victim provided, there was a bicycle?
No, it was the victim himself attempting to subdue Mr. Phillips.
Now, when Mr. Phillips was arrested, how was he identified as the suspect who entered the home?
I wasn't the arresting officer. However, the warrant information that I provided to secure the warrant, it was the photo, it was the independent investigation between the photo, the event that transpired, also with the help of the officers that worked the assigned area, was able to help assist identify Mr. Phillips.
And you stated that the other officers were able to identify Mr. Phillips. Was there like a photograph that was sent to them and then they noticed who he was by his features, or was he a common person in the area? How were they able to identify him?
A couple of factors. He's also known in the area. I also disseminated BOLO, which is a created picture that we use to send out. We disseminate that throughout this department wide, and officers can help assist identify suspects that we're actively looking for. And during that dissemination, it was determined that Mr. Phillips was identified by the assigned officers in that location, which is Zone 6.
And was Mr. Phillips ever produced for a photo lineup?
No, he was not.
Who performed the arrest of Mr. Phillips?
The arresting officer. You want his name? I can review the report for the arresting officer name, the one who put the handcuffs on him, because I'm the investigator. I secured the arrest warrant.
Okay, go ahead, please.
I'm still trying to download. Yeah, currently on Mark 43, reporting is not listed on the Mark 43 system at this time.
Do you recall when and where the arrest was performed?
No, typically speaking, if Mark 43 would advise that location, the officer name, at this time, Mark 43 is not advising that information.
Mark 43, are you referring to your report?
Yeah, the internal reporting system that we use.
So are you aware if a search of his person was conducted?
Well, our policy advised it'd be incident search to arrest, so his person would be searched typically due to our policy.
Okay. And are you aware if anything notable was found on his person?
No, I do not know.
Can I have a moment, Your Honor?
Yes.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, anything else?
Nothing else for this officer. I asked that he be released, Your Honor.
Anything else, argument? Thank you all, so
All
stay
right, thank you.
safe. And thank all you guys that responded yesterday to keep our community safe. We appreciate that. We have an argument?
Oh, I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Oh, that's okay.
No, Your Honor, we submit to the testimony of the officer.
All right, probable cause. Looks like you had a $5,000 good bond as of May 2nd. Anything else you want to, do you want to,
No, Your Honor.
anything else you want to tell me? All right, best of luck to you, sir. Those bond conditions and their bond will still remain in place. Ms. Iqbal, does your detective need to go next?
Mine,
I think, yeah, I think she just stepped out. Wasn't she here?
yeah, she was. I don't think she was working all night though.
Oh, okay.
I don't want, if any officers.
Anybody else
were.
working late? Got to work shortly?
Okay. You know what, Your Honor? I want to keep Union City for the last case, Your Honor. 'Cause I think, the one for Union City, we're gonna keep that one for the last case, Your Honor. That's
Why, did he
position
make you
number
mad?
4.
Did he make you mad?
Not at all, Your Honor. I just think that one's gonna take a little bit longer, and I think we'll be able to get to the other ones a little bit quicker.
All right, what about on the Jeremy Ingram?
The Jeremy Ingram, that's,
I think she may have stepped, did that detective step outside?
no, I'm ready. I'm ready, Your Honor.
Agree? Okay. Jeremy Ingram, come on up. Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Have a good one.
Jeremy Ingram's next?
Yes.
Yeah.
Jeremy Ingram.
What's the what?
What was the announcement?
Oh, he
I'm
wants that one
sorry.
to go
I said,
last.
I wouldn't mind taking that one last. I think that one is gonna take a little bit longer, if that's okay with you, Ms. Beck. Okay. Yes.
Yes. Do we have the public defender here for position 3? Says Tyrone Walls. Is a private, isn't he?
Oh, Your Honor, this is the problem that you had before. This is the second time it's been said.
Wait a minute. Is this the guy who's in,
Yes.
Miss Watts, is this the guy with the office like in Augusta and says he can or can't be here?
I believe so, Judge.
Your Honor, for this state, I would like to go ahead and say this is, I believe, the second or third time that the officer was here, did show.
No, oh, I get it. And what was his excuse for not coming today? Because last time he didn't have the correct email address and we said, well, you're the one that does your email. His email was not on the State Bar website.
You know what, Your Honor?
The woman with the trial.
Yeah, keep
as well as.
Take
He could take
a little,
into consideration.
oh, well, yeah, go ahead, Ms. Watts.
He was also the one that selected this particular date as well.
He was what? I'm sorry.
He chose this date. But I'm gonna reach out to him right now.
Do you have his right contact information this time? I don't know if he's ever put it in the State Bar.
He gave me his email, and he did reply back to it, so it was the correct email that he provided me with.
Let's see if he put his stuff in the State Bar.
Your Honor, respectfully, I understand, we can keep it going and go to the next one.
We will, but hold on one second, because if he didn't have his stuff in the State Bar like I told him to, which he said it already was, and it is not, then I'm reporting him to the State Bar. He hasn't updated the State Bar, and that's one of the rules. You mind stepping down for just a second unless, with this, do you mind swapping them out? So I'll deal with Mr. Walls whenever he decides to get here. So when you say it's gonna take longer, what does that mean? Because that lady with the little baby's here.
I'm ready.
Okay,
And my officer, she's back, Your Honor, investigation. I'm ready whenever you are.
all right, so you want to go ahead with Deshaun Durham?
Ready, Your Honor.
All right, because go on up, yeah. That way the lady with the small baby can. That just means there's pressure to keep it moving, Mr. McCauley. Oh, now she's asleep, right? I'll be very quiet. The baby's asleep.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yeah.
The podium.
All right, raise your right hand. You swear affirm testimony you're about to give is the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, state your name, spell it for the court reporter, please.
It's Leonard Romano, Leonard Romano.
All right, stand by till Mr. Durham gets out here. Let me know what you get, Ms. Watts. Okay, this is Deshaun Durham, 22 CP 214-685, 156 days without indictment. There's a $70,000 good bond as of April the 6th. Possession of a firearm during the commission of or attempt to commit certain felonies at criminal damage to property, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times 5, and 1 count of aggravated assault. Go ahead, Mr. McCauley.
Yes, is it investigator or detective?
Detective.
Detective, where are you currently employed?
The Union City Police Department.
And were you employed with them on November the 8th, 2022?
Yes.
How did you become aware of Deshaun Durham?
I received a call from our captain, Captain Brooks, in reference to a shooting that had just occurred. We arrived on scene, me and some fellow detectives arrived on scene approximately maybe 20 minutes after occurrence. We were advised of multiple people that were shooting in the complex.
What address is this at?
This is Union Landing Apartments, 4712 Flat Shoals Road.
And what county is that in?
That's going to be in Fulton County.
So through your investigation, I know you said it was multiple shootings and things of that sort. Can you tell us from your investigation what occurred at this incident?
Yes, sir. When we were able to pull video footage from the incident, I did speak with Mr. Durham on scene. I spoke with another individual later on that was involved in the second party. So there's 2 parties involved in this. One is Durham, another one is a group of multiple individuals. And I'll walk you through the video footage first. On the footage, you can see the group of people standing by their vehicle, around their vehicles. You can see Durham walk up to the group from a distance. That distance had to be at least somewhere around 100 feet, probably. The video footage, it does skip partially due to it recording motion. What you can see on the video is a black male with a hoodie pointing a gun in the direction of Durham.
And just for clarity, this is, you said it was 2 parties. So
Correct.
we want to label them party 2 is that group of people.
Party 2 could be the group of people.
And party 1 will be
Durham.
Mr. Durham. Okay.
Yes.
Careful
So-
with one another.
I'm
Be
sorry.
careful, you're gonna make court reporter angry.
Yes, Your Honor. So can you please describe when you said party 2, who are you referencing?
Party 2 is a group of multiple individuals. I believe there are around 5. The video footage is fairly far away, so it is hard to make out distinctive features, but you can see gross movements. One of the group, a male with a black hoodie, pointed a gun in the direction of Mr. Durham. You can see in the video, Durham starts to walk away. Then he turns around, runs in the direction of what we labeled party 2, and he fires 1 round using the car as a bit of cover. At that time, the male that was pointing the gun also fires. And looking at the video footage, they fire pretty much at the exact same time. You can't I can't determine which one fired first. It appeared they fired at the same time. Then other individuals that were in the large group, the group 2, started firing back. They all ducked from the first shots. They ducked and started firing back at what they perceived a threat. Durham flees to his building. The group of 2 flee in 2 cars. The shooting lasted 17 seconds from the initial first shot to the last shot. And then I did talk to both Durham and one of the individuals in that group, the shooting, who gave clarity on it.
Is he reading from something?
I don't think he has a.
Not directly. I have a notepad. I can get rid of that if you want.
Just don't read from it. Look down, refresh your recollection, and then.
Okay. So I spoke with both Durham and one of the individuals.
And what is that individual name, sir?
Calvin, Mr. Watts. Do you mind if I get his exact name?
Please.
I don't know. It's Calvin Watts, CELVIN WATTS. Calvin Watts was the individual. So let me back up. So Calvin Watts and his girlfriend Reese were having an argument. The reason Calvin Watts was over there was because he was moving out, and they got into an argument. When I spoke with Mr. Watts, he said that he had to be, his cousins were breaking up a fight. And that's when Durham had started saying something to them. They ignored it at first because they couldn't really hear what was going on because they're having this incident. And then they heard, "What y'all can't fight," is what Watts was saying. And they're kind of looking at him. And that's when he ran up and shot at them. Now, I spoke with Durham, and what he told me is he saw a group, the male assaulting the female physically. And when he walked up, probably on the video, it looked like maybe like 10, 20 feet. He walked up and confronted that individual, Calvin Watts, about why are you beating on this girl? And they told, if I remember correct, I have the words in my notes, but it would essentially was, he stated, mind your own business. Before I air this bitch out, is the words that he told me. And then he started shooting, and then the other group started shooting. So both parties are claiming they fire back in self-defense.
And party 2, I know you have Calvin Watts. Who else was a part of that party?
Yeah, Miss Reese and a cousin. Do you mind if I look to check
Please
the
do.
name? So Calvin Watts, Quiana Reese.
Can you spell out for the record?
Yes, QUINAJA, Reese, REESE. And one of the cousins that was identified, I should have it here. Yeah, I believe this might be a cousin. It's Brian Norman. And this is all, the names were given by Mr. Watts when I spoke with him. So the Brian Norman is going to be BRINA NORMAN. And then an uncle named Tucci and an individual called Man.
Okay.
As the nicknames that he knew them by.
What's that first nickname?
Tucci, TUCHIE.
Okay. Gotcha. Thank you.
Oh, those are neighbors that were alleged to be out there.
Okay.
But I was not able to speak with them.
So when in group 2, when Mr. Durham started shooting, was Calvin Watts a part of that group?
Yes, he's stated he was.
Was Kiana Reese a part of that group?
That's unknown because I can't see physical faces. Kelvin Watts is the only individual who I was able to talk to directly who said, yes, they shot back. And I believe one of his, he also told me the other individual, let me get the name, also did. His name's.
As you're getting at, was Brianna Norman a part of that group?
Yes, yes, he was part of the group as well.
Was Tucci part of the group?
No, those are neighbors they were out there. He told me they were out there helping him move, but I don't believe or have any way to prove that they were part of the core group.
Okay. You was about to get in an additional name. Do you have that name now?
It's a name I already mentioned.
Okay. In the video, do you see Mr. Durham shooting the gun?
Yes.
Do you see him shooting the gun towards group 2?
Yes.
You have 5 warrants for criminal damage to property. What was the basis for each warrant? Let's go through individually.
Sure. Each one was a vehicle that was struck with gunfire during this incident. Let me grab those warrants to find the vehicles.
Okay. Please go ahead. So for criminal damage to property in a second degree, what was the basis for that warrant? Go ahead.
So overall, all of these are vehicles that were damaged during the shooting. All of them had gunfire damage. I can list the vehicles and the owners if you wish, but all these vehicles did not have damage prior and then had gunfire damage.
Okay.
And this is off of the warrants, a 2018 Hyundai Tucson owned by a Jonathan Williams, Johnathon, Williams, Williams. A 2012 gray Chevy Cruze that was owned by Tamrella Zachary, Tamrell Zackery. 2010 Jeep Liberty Patriot that's owned by Harold Frazier, HAROLDFRAZIER. A 2018 Hyundai Elantra that's owned by Calvin Watts, previously stated. A 2019 Chevrolet Malibu that's owned by Flex Cars, a rental. It was actually rented by Calvin Watts's family. That was one of their a vehicle that they were using. It was owned by Flex Car.
And which family member rented it?
I have it somewhere. I just don't know directly. It was, I believe, his mother, but Calvin Watts's email was on it. So it's kind of blurred, but it was their family had rented it, and I could get that information later. I have that in my larger case file.
Okay. Can you please describe the damage to the 2018 Honda?
The 2018 Honda. Trying to remember the exact damages. I can tell you the ones I know off the top of my head very quickly.
We're gonna go down the line anyway. The 2018 Honda.
I don't remember the exact damage. That may have been either the hood or the is that Calvin Watts' car?
Williams.
It may have been the top of the roof or the front. I don't recall. There's photos documented. I just don't recall it.
And how much was the damage that occurred?
I don't have the exact estimates. They're bullet hole damages. So I would assume you would need to.
The 2012 gray, what is that? By Zachman?
That
What
one was
damage?
also the roof, I believe.
Your Honor, can we ask that he only answers questions that he knows the answers to? If he doesn't know, can we just say like, I don't know, instead of. I
Okay.
guess, or anything?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure on that one.
He doesn't know. That's good enough. Don't know. Okay.
The damage to the 2010 Jeep Liberty.
Yeah, that had one on the driver's side near the door. And it also had one on the front area, kind of around the hood grill area.
The 2018 Honda Elantra. Hyundai, I believe.
Hyundai. I can't really recall exactly. I think I do, but I'm not gonna stay on record. I'm not sure.
And 2019 Chevy Malibu.
I don't quite recall. But this should be documented in the police report as well, I believe. I don't
Do you
know.
have the police report with you?
I do.
Can you please refer to your police report before we can go ahead and discuss the damages, sir? And respectfully, we will be starting with the 2018 Honda. Can you please discuss the damages to the 2018 Honda?
The officer did not document. Usually they document it. That's usually policy, but they did not document it.
Okay, in the 2012 gray. Gray Chevy, what was the damage to that vehicle?
I can't recall the exact, there's a lot of different damages on different vehicles. All of them sustained gunshot damage, but I can't recall the exact position from all of them.
Do you see the person who was shooting the gun into group 2 in the courtroom at this time?
Yes.
Can you please describe an article of clothing that he is wearing?
Navy shirt with a long sleeve white shirt.
May the court recognize he has positively identified the defendant?
Noted.
Were you post certified during this investigation?
I was.
No further questions at this time, Your Honor.
All right, Cross.
Detective Leonard Romano.
Yes, ma'am.
Correct, okay. Okay, so honestly, I was very confused. It seemed like there was a lot going on, so I'm gonna have to just review everything, and I apologize for that. You said that you arrived 20 minutes after the shots were
So-
reported fired?
Roughly, I'm roughly something around that.
Okay. Do you know who called 911?
Yeah, we had multiple calls.
Do you know how many?
I don't know the exact amount. There were multiple calls if I remember.
Okay. And do you know who called?
I don't have their names with me. I have the case file. It's in the case file. I do recall some of the things that they were saying.
Okay, what did they say?
One of the calls, they called about hearing fire, what they thought were firecrackers, and then they saw 2 cars leave. There's a white Chevy Malibu and then a gray sedan that's going to be Kellen Watt's vehicle. But they did not see exactly what happened, and that was kind of the consensus. Most people didn't see what was happening, but they were hearing gunshots
Okay, so
or
that
firecrackers.
person reported a white Chevy Malibu and a gray sedan leaving.
Yes.
Do you know who those cars belong to?
Yes, the rental vehicle that we talked about, the flex car, That's one of them. And the other one is Kelvin Watt's vehicle, the one we talked about.
Okay.
That one sustained damage to the front of it. The other one sustained just one bullet, now that I recall.
So both of those left and then came back?
They didn't return to the scene.
How did you find out the damage that was done to them?
Or correction, the one vehicle was on scene. I apologize. I got my cars mixed up. Kelvin Watt's car was on scene. The Chevy Malibu left the scene.
Okay, so gray sedan was there. Okay, so let's back up then.
Okay.
So did two cars leave?
Two cars did leave.
Do you know what those two cars were?
I know for a fact that one was the that flex car. I don't quite recall the second vehicle. There's a lot of vehicles involved in this case.
Sounds like it. Okay, so how many shots were reported?
Would you like, I have the shell casings if you want to do that.
Absolutely.
Okay. 29.
Shots were reported?
I have, well, let me make that clear. 29 shell cases were recovered by us. As far as the shots heard, nobody were able to say specific. They just said they heard multiple or they're hearing firecrackers, something of the sort, on the 911 calls.
Okay, so I know you said multiple, so we're saying 2+ calls came in?
Yeah.
Okay. You don't know the identity of any of the callers at this time?
No, not this time.
Would all of those 911 calls been preserved into evidence?
Yeah, I have recordings of that and I have the CAD reports.
And they're preserved into evidence?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Did anyone on the 911 calls say how many shooters there were?
I don't recall if anyone mentioned that.
Were any suspects identified by name during those calls?
I don't think so.
Was there ever any description of the suspects given?
Don't recall.
I know you responded. What are the other officers' names that responded?
The reporting officer is Stacy Armstead. I know, I think Detective Ashley Davis was out there with me.
Ashley?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And as far as everyone else, I'm not, I think Captain Brooks was there. There were a lot of officers that responded because it was the middle of the day. So I don't have all their names at this time, but everyone's issued a body camera and that is all preserved.
All of those would have been?
Yes.
Okay.
It's standard practice to turn those on.
Including yours?
Yes.
Okay. What time did the call come in?
12:05, I think it's 12:05.
And you said in the middle of the day?
Yeah.
Was the crime scene secured when you arrived?
It's okay.
Yes.
She can like walk around in the back if she, just pace if she needs to stand up or something, since I know she's family or what have you. That's fine. I understand. It's okay.
If I recall, there was still a little bit in the process, but yes, it was secured.
So
by the time I got there.
When you arrived, they were in the process of securing it?
Yes, and had it pretty much secured by the time I got there.
Were you the lead when you arrived?
I was assigned it. I believe I was the lead at the beginning, yes.
Okay. Were any of the witnesses located?
No one directly that could see that saw the shooting. No.
What did you first do when you arrived?
When I first arrived, I began locating shell casings while everybody else was around. One of the officers located Durham. We spoke with him. But since our role is kind of do everything, I started with trying to find out exactly what we had on the scene as far as shell casings, damaged vehicles, other items of evidence, scan around to see who else is standing about, that sort of thing.
Okay, so you were in charge of finding shell casings, not like a tech team or anything like that?
No, I don't believe we had one at the time.
Okay. Are you trained to collect the evidence then?
Yes.
So you said that one officer found Mr. Durham and talked to him. What did he say?
So Durham said he had a nickname for the individual in his Instagram account. That's for this. He's talking about Calvin Watts, but he doesn't have his direct name. And he said that there was an argument, and there's a physical altercation with this female that he saw. So he saw,
Let's slow down. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm
So,
sorry.
no, you're okay. So Durham said that he saw a physical altercation between Watts. He didn't know the name.
and his baby, I think he called him the baby mama, or it might have been between a girl and Calvin Watts.
Okay.
And he came up to approach them. He's still from a great distance, but he said something to him like, "Why y'all beating that woman? Y'all can't fight," or something along those lines. And that's when they told him, "Mind your own business." Before you before you get something about getting this smoke or something, alleging something along those lines. And then that's when he said that they started to shoot at him, and then he ran away. And he shot once. After they started shooting at him, he shot once, and then he put his gun back into a vehicle. He showed us where he ducked down. That was like a gray like a whitish grayish Hyundai, where he had ducked down. There's easy bullet holes. The windows are smashed out of that from bullet damage. And he showed me the vehicle where he put his firearm, and he helped let us get that firearm.
Okay. So the whitish grayish Hyundai, what one was that?
It was a Hyundai SUV.
Okay. So that's not one of the ones you included for the criminal damage.
It is. It should be. It is. I'm just trying to remember if it's the
Oh,
Tucson.
the Tucson.
Yes.
Okay. That would be the Tucson.
Yes.
Okay. So the 2018 Hyundai Tucson, he ducked behind it.
Well, that's where he started shooting from, yeah. And he ducked behind there. But what his statements were, they started shooting at him. He fired around, ducked behind there, and then basically got out of there.
Okay. So the damage to the Hyundai Tucson, you didn't know what the damage was, correct?
I didn't know what it was.
You said that on direct, you said, I don't know what the damage was.
Yeah, now I kind of remember, because they're shooting from the the passenger side of the vehicle towards the back. So the back passenger rear glass, and shooting that way. So the back glass, the back window are smashed out because they're shooting that way towards him.
Who's they?
Group, well, the way labeled as group 2, the larger group that was shooting at Durham.
So you charged Mr. Durham with shots that were coming at him for criminal damage?
Yes.
Okay. So that's what he reported to you. And on the video, you were able to get the video. Where was that video, like footage taken from?
Yeah, so it was on top of, kind of on top of the building, facing off the wall. And you can see if you look at the apartment buildings, I wish we were trying to draw it out. There's one apartment building that's kind of parallel. And then there's another one later, but that doesn't really matter. And then there's another one. So it's kind of a 90-degree almost.
It's like an L?
Kind of, but they're separated by a parking lot. Durham's at one of them, the farther one, and the other group are at that parking lot.
How far would you say that is?
I would say the video footage is probably out from them or from the camera seeing them.
Let's do both.
Okay, so I would say from the camera to them is probably at least closer to 100 feet, and then from the parties separated, I'd say 100 feet. We didn't measure it because I didn't have a device to measure it at the time, but it would be a little bit shorter than that, probably a little shorter of a distance.
Is the video in color?
It's in color.
Does it record audio as well?
It does not.
Okay. So on the video, you see, did Mr. Durham approach the group first?
Yes.
Okay, so he approached the group. How far was he from the group?
So from where he originally was, there's cars, and where he ended up standing is kind of more of the open spot of the parking lot. And he probably came up, I think like 30 feet, it's hard to say. So he's probably about maybe 50 feet from them.
Okay.
That's not where the shooting happened, per se.
I understand.
Okay.
So he approaches the group, he gets within 50 feet of them.
Probably close enough we'd be talking very loudly to hear each other.
Okay. And there's a verbal altercation between the two groups, or
Yeah.
between Durham and the group.
Yes, what you're saying.
Okay. And you said there was 5 people in that group?
Roughly, I'd have to look at the video footage from my notes to know exact, but around 5.
And Durham was alone?
Durham was alone.
Okay. So verbal altercation happens, he turns and walks away. And by he, I mean Durham.
Yes, he walks back towards the vehicles. Some of it's a little bit harder to see because it's in the shade. And this, I want you to know too, that this video isn't always 100% recording. When there's movement, it's recording. So there are slight parts where it doesn't 100% record.
Got you. So the video is like a broad angle?
It is.
Okay. Okay, then what do you see next in the video?
And at some point.
Walks away, then what happens?
He walks away, and at some point, the one of the people from the group, a male with a black hoodie, points the gun in the direction of where Durham was. You can't quite see him, so I don't really know what's going on. Or no, he points the gun at him.
At Durham.
At Durham. Durham, you can see Durham for part of this because it'll jump you around a little bit, but he walks off. So you see him holding the gun in the direction of Durham. Durham starts walking off back towards his building. The door is like right there. So he's walking off towards that way, towards the vehicles.
So he's pointing the gun while Durham is walking away?
Yes.
Okay.
And Durham, at a certain point, turns, and he was walking before. He runs back towards that Hyundai Tucson. He runs back, and while he's running, the second he gets to the car, bam, and then you see the other black male fire too.
Mr. Durham runs back towards the Hyundai.
Yeah. So while
How
he's
far
running,
is that?
Oh.
How far is that from the group?
That's the longer distance. So probably roughly, I would have to say around 100 feet, but I can't say that's accurate. I'd have to go and measure it.
Has anyone in this investigation measured that?
No.
Okay. So he runs back towards a Hyundai, and you said, bam, who was that coming from?
Yeah, so he runs back towards the Hyundai, and you see Durham fire. And you see
what?
You see Durham fire his handgun, and you see the other suspect, the other person fire as well, essentially at the same time.
And did you ever identify the other person?
I can't say 100% who that person is, but I know the people that were shooting in the group. So Calvin Watts did say he shot once.
So the other group
Durham
had
fired.
multiple guns?
Yes.
Okay. So we don't know identity of the black hoodie guy?
No, but Calvin Watts is charged in this as well.
Okay. And then, so how many guns do you think that other group had?
I could say probably at least 4 is what it looked like, 3 or 4. Now, mind you, they're pretty far from distance, and you see the smoke come out of the gun. You can see the people's shapes. You can see them holding the gun like this, and you can see the smoke come out of the gun when it's fired.
Okay.
That's the sort of video footage we're looking at.
I got you. So that group, you believe, had 4 guns?
That would be safe to say.
Okay.
There must have been at least, I mean, you could look on the shell casings, that would probably be more accurate, but I would say something like that. The GBI, I don't know if they finished processing these or not to tell us that.
Do you know how many different types of shell casings you found?
Yes.
Okay.
There's 9mm.
How many? Just these are the different types of shell casings? Okay, so we
I
got
can
9.
tell, I have also the markings on them. So, that's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So 21 were 9mm shell casings marked with FC. There is a 9mm shell casing marked with RP. And there's
Only one of those?
only one of those. Oh, I'm sorry, there's two more of those 9mm of FC. My apologies.
So
There's multiple
23.
FCs.
23 marked with FC.
Let me be accurate and get a pen out, if you don't mind.
I'm horrible at math too.
Okay, so 23 marked with FC,
Mhm.
one marked with RP. That's a 9mm.
Mhm.
Then there's a 40 caliber. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shell casings that were marked with a 40 cal that had markings Underwood on them. And again, since they're not sent out to GBI for testing yet to make sure that all those 9mm came from, it could be from the same gun or a separate gun.
So we won't know that until the GBI gets the report back, correct?
But I know Durham fired one, there's one shell casing by hit, one 9mm shell casing by that vehicle. He testified to me, or he told me that there was only, that he fired once. And that's what the evidence shows.
So Durham fired one shot,
Correct.
and that would have been the 9mm?
It's a 9mm,
With
yes.
the RP?
I would have to look at the case file for that to know exactly which one it was.
Okay. So this gun exchange happens, then what?
So after the gun exchange, well, you get Durham goes from behind the car, he goes back towards where his apartment to escape. Then the other group goes into their car. They told me, or Watts told me, that they fled because they were afraid, that he would keep shooting back. So they fled. Same as Durham. Durham said he fled because he was afraid they were going to shoot back. So both parties fled, thinking that they were going to be shot.
Okay, so that group, did everyone get into the same car and leave, or was it multiple?
No,
cars?
2 cars.
2 cars, and that's the Malibu and the one that you weren't sure which one it was.
They're not 100%, but
That's fine.
yeah, it was 2 cars. There's video footage, and I have both those vehicles plates identified and everything.
And is that video footage preserved into evidence?
Yes, and there's tag reading cameras that helped me acquire the vehicles.
Okay, so you haven't been able to identify anyone else that was in that group other than Calvin Watts?
There's one other that's possible. The problem is Calvin Watts directly told me he was, when I interviewed him, he directly told me I was there. He was there. Everybody else, you can't see faces to say 100% who's who. And no one else has been able to, we've been able to either come in or grab or stuff like that. Reese did say she was going to talk to me, but then never showed up.
So Reese never showed up.
Yes.
And you got her name or his name, I'm sorry, from Watts?
Yeah, all the names that we've gotten were from Watts. Reese, I was able to also confirm that from some reports where they did have some domestics that they're talking about before, where they had some stuff going on. So I was able to find her as well and make sure that that's the correct name. But all the names were given by Calvin, the rest of them as well.
How did you find Watts to begin with?
I called him or his mom, and they came in to talk to me.
How did you know to speak to Watts?
I found him out from the rental vehicle, who it was owned by, or not owned by, but who had rented it, and partially Durham's testimony, which he gave a Facebook picture, if I remember correctly. It was, or Instagram, it was a social media of some type.
Okay. And he only knew the social media, right?
He had a nickname for him. I wrote it down. I have it. I just don't know it off the top of my head.
Okay.
I believe it was a nickname. It might have been a real name. There was a name given, but it wasn't like, it didn't lead me directly to him. I had to still figure out who he was.
So through the course of your investigation,
Right.
You found out it was Watts, and then.
Yes, talked to him, and they voluntarily came in. Him and his mom voluntarily came in.
Okay, and what exactly did he say happened?
So he told me that he was having an argument with, so I'll back it up. When he was going there to move out with his cousins, and he was living with his baby mama, is what he called them, the Reese. So they were all there. He was moving out. Him and Reese got into an argument, and he said his cousins kind of was breaking it up. So he didn't really specify as far as what the physical aspect was, but they were breaking it up. Then during that, he said that he heard who's identified. He didn't identify him there, but who we know as Durham say something to him, say something to the group, and they could really hear what was going on because they're dealing with what they're doing, because they're already in an argument themselves. And then they heard him say something specific. I'm trying to remember exactly what it was. Oh, y'all can't fight, or something like that. You hear him say, y'all can't fight.
Durham said that to the group?
Yeah, that's what Watts is telling me, that what, y'all can't fight. And they're like, I don't know what they're talking about. And then they say Durham shot at them. And so then they returned fire, and then they fled because they didn't want to get shot.
But that wasn't supported by the video?
Which part?
Their account that he fired and then they returned fire?
Right. Both sides said that the other party fired first. So yes, and in the video, it shows them firing together.
Simultaneously, you said, right?
Pretty much.
Okay, so when did you actually arrest Mr. Watts?
I don't know if I have that with me. I believe we interviewed him. We interviewed him. We tried to find more. We got warrants for both parties, and I don't remember exactly what point. It's in a warrant.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be in a warrant. I'm not sure the exact day off the top of my head.
Okay, just give me 1 second to review. Are all of the interviews videotaped?
Yeah, all the interviews are videotaped.
And they would be preserved into evidence?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Did you assess the damage to the cars? Did you see the damage to the cars personally?
I saw them. There was a lot going on, but I did see them. And each did have bullet strikes. I did not have those appraised personally, and I haven't received that yet. I don't have any of that.
Did anyone have them appraised?
No.
Okay, no one's had them appraised.
Well, they may have had that for their insurance, but I don't have any of that information now.
Okay. And is that part of your investigation, that you would look at the damage to the car and try and identify which bullet hit it? Is that something that is possible?
It depends. So we do have one bullet extract. I believe we did get a fragment extracted from the red Jeep Cherokee.
And what was the?
And we also say it again.
What was the bullet out of the red Jeep Cherokee?
That was the driver's side, like the door. Because if it was, it's about the driver's side door. So, and then of course, the location of the cars and the shell casings with the photographs, you could probably draw a conclusion.
Okay.
Where the shots came from, but some of them, like skipping off the roof, would be a little bit difficult. But yes, that would be something we would look into.
You would look into, or you have?
I sent the bullet off to the GBI, but I can't say 100% where it came from. There was no trajectory done, if that's what you're kind of asking.
When is that usually done?
Did a case-to-case basis. We did do a trajectory for this case.
Is it too late to do that now?
Pretty much. What you would be able to do is take the locations of the vehicles based off pictures, and they're shooting opposite to each other. So you could kind of, for some of them, you would be able to put a picture together of where those most likely came from. Some would be more difficult, but the video footage is so far away too that wouldn't even really be too much of an aid. But that's something that's.
Okay, so you said that they're on two different sides, correct?
Yes.
The group party 2 is over here and Mr. Durham is over here.
Yes.
Mr. Durham is hiding behind the Hyundai Tucson.
Yes.
On what side is the gray Chevy Cruze on? Party 2 side or Mr. Durham side?
All of the vehicles are either, so the only one that had damage, if I recall correctly, on Durham's side was that vehicle. The other ones were either in between or right next to adjacent. The ideas behind this is the causation of the shooting, who caused the shooting to occur, was the reason why all these cars are damaged. In my mind,
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
the causation of the shooting, whoever caused this shooting is the reason why these cars are damaged.
Not the actual bullets.
The bullets caused the damage, that's correct, but depending if they were defending themselves or not.
Okay. Did any witnesses say that they heard anything other than the fire, the gunfire?
Not that some of the callers said they saw the two vehicles leaving. That's one of the things that was told.
They didn't hear anything though.
No, no one heard, no one that I know of heard the argument or anything like that. We didn't have any.
Did you go
witnesses said
door to
that.
door?
I didn't do a canvas.
Did
I
anyone?
didn't have resources. And I don't believe we did a canvas.
You said a lot of officers responded because it was in the middle of the day,
Yes,
but you didn't have the resources to go door to door?
I did not, no.
Is it too late at this point to go door to door?
You could, but it's something that could be done. But I would say you want to do it that day or the day after. You usually want to do a follow-up the day after at least, if you can.
Okay. All right, thank you so much.
All right, anything else on direct?
Nothing on direct, Your Honor.
All right, anything else? This officer,
Nothing else for this officer. The officer can be released, Your
all
Honor.
right, thank you, officer. Be safe out there. All right, go ahead with the argument.
Your Honor, before she can go ahead, I would like to add, 2 additional charges of aggravated assault for Kiwana Reese and Brianna Norman. They were part of the group in party 2.
Actually, Your Honor, I believe that the detective said that he was never able to positively identify anyone in that group other than Mr. Watts.
Mr. Watt.
That Mr. Watts gave him some names for the group, but they were never able to positively identify that those people were there, and they have refused to come in and speak with them.
And I also asked, were they part of that group? And he said, yes.
Well, he hasn't been, she said he's not been able to Watts gave him the names, but he hasn't been able to positively identify them because they haven't came in. So he could have said Alex Manning was there, but until I go in, yeah, he can't identify them. So that may be something you obviously follow up with, but yeah, I'm not going to add those 2.
Yes, Your Honor.
Anything else?
Nothing else from the state, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Yes, Your Honor. For all of the criminal damage to property, we are asking those to be dismissed for lack of probable cause. They are charged in the 2nd degree, which says intentionally damages any property of another without consent and damage exceeds $500. I specifically asked what the cost of the damage was, and he said that they have not gotten any information back on that from any of the parties. Additionally, Your Honor, specifically in regards to the 2018 Hyundai Tucson, that was the one that he was hiding behind. Mr. Durham was hiding behind. And the detective did say that the shot was coming towards him. I don't think that he could have been the one shooting it if he was the one hiding behind it. We are asking for all of them to be dismissed though, because the cost was not known. We don't know any of the damage. Again, I went through specifically asking what the damage was for all of them. He didn't know, didn't have that information on him. There's no way to know any of the amounts.
All right. Go ahead, Mr. McCauley.
One moment, Your Honor, please.
Turn that microphone back on. Ambria said you sound low. I think it's off.
It's green.
Oh, okay. Maybe you need to pull the microphone down. No, that's okay. LT, you can get, is it mom? Well, mom and the baby to come back in if she wants, or did she leave? I don't.
She said she was going to leave.
Oh, okay, if she was leaving, that's fine. I didn't want her to have to stay out if she.
Your Honor, we will submit on the evidence, that was provided to the court by the officer, Your Honor.
Okay, so I'll find probable cause on the possession of firearm or knife during the commission of or attempt to commit certain felonies and 1 count of aggravated assault. Without knowing the amount, 1 on the criminal provision 2nd degree, I can't find that. Plus, the detective stated that some of the rounds came from the other direction. I don't know how he could have ran around, shot those windows out and came and did that. She leave? Okay, I just want to make sure. So she left, sir. I wanted her to be able to come back in if she wanted. So, possession of firearm during the commission of a felony and 1 count of aggravated assault. It's a $70,000 good bond previously. However, let's see, now that knocks it down. We can hear it again if you'd like.
Yes, please, Your Honor.
The defendant has 2 cycles. The defendant's last arrest was August the 8th, 2022 in Union City, Georgia, for aggravated assault and battery, family violence. Nothing in addition. There are no convictions listed in the GCIC, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, go ahead. And he's gonna live in Fulton County? Okay. Okay. Yeah. All right, go ahead. Is it working? Fulton Porter? Tap on it, see if it works. Oh, maybe you need to twist it down here and get it to work, like just did it. Or, okay, sorry. It's kind of sensitive to.
I understand. The other one, it completely doesn't work. Is this better?
Yes, much better. Thank you.
Okay.
You're welcome. Mr. Durham is 20 years old. He turned 20 in jail. He is a high school graduate of Langston Hughes. He graduated in 2021. Prior to his arrest, he was enrolled in Georgia State for business admin. He has a now 8-month-old daughter who we all met and who lives with him as well. She's adorable. He was working at Walmart as a stalker prior to his arrest, and he hopes that he is able to get that job back. He's a lifelong resident of Georgia. The address that he can live at is 5414 Hall Circle in Union City, Georgia, and he can live there with his mom. We are asking for a bond not to exceed $10,000, Your Honor. As you heard from today, the aggravated assault is a stretch. Acting in self-defense, and that is something that we are going to be looking into. So we are asking for the bond not to exceed $10,000, Your Honor.
Go ahead, Mr. McCauley.
Your Honor, this is an egregious act, Your Honor. This is an egregious act in a public area, Your Honor. We are concerned for the public property. We are concerned for the public safety, Your Honor. And we are concerned that for the intimidation of witnesses also, Your Honor. That is a concern that the state do have, but we will defer to the court in regards to the amount of bond.
All right, no drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no further contact with Kelvin Watts, Kelvin Watts, Jonathan Williams, Tamrell, Tamrell, Zachary, or Harold Frazier, Frazier, anyone that works at Flex Car. You're gonna have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew, court, lawyer, medical, attorney visits, and employment, as long as you supply the name of your employer, proof of employment schedule, and the exact location you'll be working. And let's see.
We also get an exception for school, Your Honor.
Sure, oh, sure, education, as long as you supply proof of enrollment and that you're actually going. Let's see. Stay away from 4712 Flat Shoals Road. Did it? I think I got everything. Yeah, no drugs, no alcohol, no weapons. I don't think there's any hold or anything like that, so. Make sure I got it. So 10,000 and 10,000. Best of luck to you, sir. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
I needed another courtroom name. My case for the next round.
Yeah, we can take, it's Jeremy Ingram, Mike. Is that the one? Yeah, Jeremy Ingram. Is that it?
No, Huff.
Oh, Huff.
Freddie Huff.
Sure, bring Freddie Huff. Go ahead, Mr. Walls, before we we're gonna bring out a next case, but go ahead. You weren't here this morning. You're on mute, Mr.
Good morning,
Walls.
Your Honor.
Morning.
For email communication, I have been in communication with.
Okay, hold on one second. Can't hear. Hold on. All right, go ahead.
Yes, I've been in communication with Ms. Watts and Attorney McCullough. It was my understanding that it was made clear I wasn't going to be available today and that we were looking to schedule another date. I haven't received that date as of yet. I think it was a miscommunication to where I was under the impression in lieu of filing a conflict letter. Ms. Watts sent the email requesting available dates along with Mr. McCullough. So I think that's where the disconnect was at. And actually right now I'm on bed rest. The case that I had in South Carolina today, I had to have that continue. Either way, I wasn't going to be in this court today. But I am on bed rest. My doctor is supposed to be sitting upright at the moment. And I have my doctor's excuse. So I think it was just a miscommunication on, I think, my part. I work in a lot of different jurisdictions, and procedurally, every jurisdiction does things differently. So I was under the impression that I was excused once I made it known that I had a conflict, and I was included in the email communication with Mr. McCullough.
Okay, so Mr. McCauley can't excuse anybody, one, but there's, under 4.2, entrance of appearance and pleadings, and your appearance, duties, withdrawals, attend, and remain, you got 4.2 and 411. There are rules under the Georgia Superior Court rules that you have to do at entry of appearance. You have to file a conflict. There's never a waiver of conflict. I didn't excuse you. One, if you're on bed rest, I get it, but you've got to communicate. I told you to put your contact information on the State Bar website. It is not there. We told you to correct your email information on your pleadings because it is not there. Sure, your email is incorrect. And the final thing, I was advised by Ms. Watts that you hung up on her. Stop. Never. Don't stop, Mr. Walls. She said you hung up on her, so don't call Ms. Watson. Okay, hold on. Okay, rule one, don't interrupt me. Do not interrupt me. If you were accidentally disconnected or what have you, doesn't matter. You do not speak with Ms. Watts like you did. When you're speaking to Ms. Watts or anybody in my office, you're speaking to me. So unless you want to talk to me like you talk to them, put yourself in check. Smile. It's not funny. I'm this close to holding you in contempt, Mr. Walls. This close. It is not that hard for you to put your contact information, which is required by the rules that you put your contact information on the State Bar website. I told you, Ms. Watts told you, I checked it just a few minutes ago. It's still not on there. And your email on your pleadings that you type is wrong. Your email that you type on your own pleadings is wrong. Your website does it. There's no way to contact you. Well, it looks like you're a little bit put off talking to me, but in the meantime, your client's been here waiting on you to appear. And they said if you had a conflict, you had to file something and give some more dates. I saw the interactions, but you didn't respond with any dates. Well, I am so sorry. I am taking up your time, Mr. Walls.
I'm listening to you. I just don't appreciate your tone.
Mr. Walls, do you think I appreciate you not showing up in front of me when you've been notified twice to come here? You don't put your own information. I'm muting you. You don't put your own correct contact information. I told you personally on the phone, correct your information on the State Bar. There's never a waiver of a conflict letter. And then you didn't respond to them, giving them dates where you were actually going to be available. Who does this hurt? Your client. And I hate that you don't appreciate the tone, but I don't appreciate you showing a lack of respect for this court. You may not respect me. You don't know me. You may not like me personally, but you'll respect the decorum of the court and the fact that I'm in charge here today. This is the people's courtroom, and you don't talk to the people like this. But it's funny. So we're going to set this up for a contempt hearing too. What date are you available? Yep, that's what we're going to do. We're going to see about a contempt hearing. Ms. Watts, give me some dates. It could be on the same day we bring him back for his prelim. I've had an officer here 2 times, Mr. Walls. 2 times. And these officers are busy. As you can see, yesterday, they responded to a mass shooting. So we take these officers off the street, make them sit in this courtroom and wait. Who's the officer on this case? What date are you available, Sergeant?
As long as it's not a Monday or Tuesday.
As long as it's not a Monday or a Tuesday. Miss Watts?
May 11th, next Thursday.
Next Thursday, Mr. Walls. Think you can make it? You're on mute. I muted you because once again, you were talking over me.
May the level works for me, Your Honor.
I didn't even hear what you said. What did you say again?
I said, May the 11th works for me, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Watts, what time?
9 a.m., Judge.
All right, we'll also put that on for the hearing on civil contempt. I'll send you the wording for that language for the civil contempt hearing. We'll hear you on contempt then, Mr. Walls. Make sure, once again, I'm advising you for the final time, contact the state bar and put your contact information on the state bar website. It's required that it be there. Number 2, check your pleadings because you type out your email completely wrong. Your contact information is not correct in Fulton County, in Odyssey, and Georgia e-file. You need to correct that yesterday.
Yes, Your Honor. I'll look for the notice.
Well, you're gonna have to explain it to your officer, so, I mean, your own client why you can't be here, so would you like to stay on and talk to him after this hearing and explain to him why you're not here, why we're not going forward? Because it's not really my job to do that.
Well, he's been notified through his sister that I had a conflict on that date, so it was.
No, sir, there's no conflict filed. There is no conflict filed in this case. So you can tell people all day long, but there is not a conflict that is filed. This is all I have to go by. The last thing you filed, once again, was your motions. And once again, it had the wrong email address on there.
Like I said, I already explained to my client, so no, I declined to explain to him. I could set up a visit with him to go in more detail. Otherwise, I see him on the 11th.
See you on the 11th at 9 a.m. All right, let's go. We got, this is Mr. Huff. Raise your right hand. Detective, do you swear? Thank you, officer. I'll see you then. You swear affirm testimony you're about to give is the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. State your name, spell for the court reporter.
Yes, my name is Monique Edwards Tim. It's Monique Edwards, EDWARDS -THAMES.
All right, this is 22 CP 214971, 128 days without indictment. There's a $20,000 good bond as of April the 13th. Aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, possession of a firearm or knife during the commission of or attempt to commit certain felonies. Were those family members there that came for that other case?
Your Honor, I truly do apologize. That was the victim.
Please tell the victim that we will go forward next time and that I apologize so very much. Thank you.
I didn't want to interrupt, Your Honor.
All right. All right, go ahead, Mr. McCauley.
Oh, Your Honor.
No, I'm sorry.
apologies, Mr. Iqbal. No worries.
Iqbal. It's aggravated assault, possession of firearm during the commission of a felony. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, officer. Please tell us, how are you currently employed?
I am employed with the City of Atlanta Police Department in the Special Victims Unit.
And are you an investigator or a detective?
Yes, I am a detective investigator for this unit.
And how long have you been doing that?
About 3 or 4 years now.
And what was your role prior to that?
I'm a police officer with the City of Atlanta.
And are you post-certified?
Yes, ma'am.
And were you post-certified on November 24th, 2021?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did you happen to be involved in an investigation in this case?
Yes.
on that day?
Yes.
Okay, and can you please tell the court where you responded to?
So I did not respond to the location. The officer had taken a police report and it was signed to me, I believe, a few days later, and I was able to start investigating it on November the 28th, 2021.
And looking at the work done by the prior officer, where did the incident take place?
So from the officer's report, he reported to a fight call at 1371 Kimberly Way, Southwest, Apartment 5101.
And is that in Fulton County?
Yes, ma'am.
And so what did you do when you first got assigned the case?
So what I usually do is look at the officer's body camera footage. So the officer was Officer Baker, who's the actual reporting officer. He had made it to the location and spoke to the victim, Miss LaShondra Drain, who advised that she had been dating a male for about 2 years and they never lived together. And she stated his name and date of birth, I believe, as a Freddie Huff. And she advised Officer Baker that that they got into an argument at their location inside the home apartment building. And she stated that he punched her 3 times in the face and struck her with the butt of a sawed-off shotgun in her, I believe, the left side of her face and the back of her head. And in the officer's statement, from what he saw bruising to the left side of her face and a scratch to the right side of her face near her eye when he arrived on scene.
And you mentioned that he hit her with the a sawed-off shotgun, is that correct?
I believe so. That's what she said, a sawed-off shotgun.
Did you, do you know if officers, was there a firearm at that location?
No, the officer tried to knock on the door to see if anyone would open the door because apparently there was some type of gathering at that location. Nobody would participate or open the door at all at that time. So they weren't able to actually see if there was the male had fled. Apparently he had fled before the officers arrived there. So no actual weapon was ever located.
Okay. And I believe you just testified that he hit her on the head. Is that correct?
Yes. Apparently in the back of the head and on the side of her face.
Okay. And then what did he do with the shotgun?
They don't know what happened to it. I guess during that time, I have no idea.
Apologies. I meant to say is how was the shotgun used?
Just to strike her with it. She never said it was pointed, I don't believe, at her at any time or anything like that. They just struck her with the shotgun.
And do you know where it struck her?
Apparently to the back of her head and to the side of her face.
Okay. And were you able to speak with the victim in this case?
So yes, I did speak to her and she did verify that that's what happened to her when I spoke to her.
And is that Miss LaShondra Drain?
Yes.
LaShundra, is that correct?
Yes, Drain.
Okay. And so were you able to observe any injuries on her?
Well, she was at work. I believe it was kind of hard to get in contact with her. Eventually, I was able to speak to her over the phone. Also at the location, she was able to show the officer a picture, I believe, of Mr. Huff.
Well, let's go back to the injuries real quick.
Yes.
So were you able to observe her injuries on the body cam that was captured?
Yes, you can see the officer's pictures, like a little swelling, I guess we were showing. And then she also sent me a picture of herself, like actual bruising to her eye.
Okay. And did she advise you that the bruising was caused by Mr. Huff?
Most likely, yes. I'm sorry, yes, she did say it was caused for that incident.
Okay. And do you know if Mr. Huff is a convicted felon?
Yes. I ran his criminal history and it showed that he was a convicted felon for aggravated assault and robbery back in March 2nd, 2020 out of Fulton County Superior Court.
Okay, nice. One moment. And you said that she provided you a photo of Mr. Huff?
That is correct. She showed the officer that night, and then she also sent me a picture of it as well. And I believe also I was able to locate a driver's license photo of him when she was able to ID Mr. Huff as the person who caused her injuries to her face.
And do you see that individual in the courtroom here today? You can stand up. Yes.
I can stand up, yeah.
Remove your mask, everyone.
Yes, that is Mr. Huff.
Can you please point to him and describe what he's wearing?
Yes, he is wearing a blue shirt over a looks like a gray shirt under, long sleeve shirt underneath.
Your Honor, let the record reflect that the witness has identified Mr. Huff as the defendant.
Noted.
Okay. And did you do anything after that? Did you take warrants out against the defendant?
I did. I did take the aggravated assault for the weapon and also the possession of a firearm.
Okay. And after that, did you do anything else in this case?
Usually we have the warrant flagged, and he was picked up, I believe, on November 27, 2022. Other than that, other than filing the report, doing a case file and taking the warrants out, that's all I have done at this point.
Okay, did you speak to the defendant at any time?
Yes, I did. I called the number that she provided, Miss Drain, and apparently, when I spoke to him over the phone, he said he didn't attack her. He believes that another boyfriend injured her and that he was in a shelter and hasn't been around her since. However, Miss Drain provided several phone numbers to people who were at the location. Apparently, a family member named Rico lives there. It wasn't able to provide the information because everybody did not want to talk to me. And she gave a phone number for his wife, Tasha. And I called that number, but it was disconnected. So she also provided another phone number for another young lady who was there, Quisha, her daughter's phone number. So I called around trying to get people to talk to me. And eventually I was able to speak to Tasha and over the phone. She didn't want to cooperate. She basically said that they were at the home, but she told them to leave once they were arguing at the home. She said that she did see an injury, but she does not want to cooperate whatsoever to what's going on between the victim and the suspect. Basically, she said she didn't see an actual physical fight, but she said she saw an injury. She does not want to continue on.
So just to clarify, she saw the fight and saw the injury?
She did not see the fight. She just saw that I believe Ms. Drain was injured because she did not want to cooperate. She wouldn't give me her name, her full name or anything like that, I believe.
Okay. And when you were speaking to the defendant, I believe you testified that he said he was at a shelter and wasn't there. Was he able to provide a name of a shelter that he was there at?
I tried to contact him later on and try to get some more information. I never was able to get in contact with him to verify that because I need the name of the shelter, anything like that, to at least to show something, and I wasn't. And she does have visible injury, so I believe there was enough probable cause to move forward with charges at that time.
Okay. Nothing further at this time, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, Cross.
Again, it was Detective Edward Timms.
Yes, you can just say Edwards. It's easier for everyone.
Detective Edwards. So was it Miss Drain who initially called the police?
I'll have to go back and look at that, but I believe she was the one that called 911. I'll have to check on that one.
Okay. And you said that you were not responding or first responding.
No, it's a responding officer takes the report and it is assigned to us maybe a day or two later.
All right. After that, you said that it was an Officer Baker who responded.
That is correct.
Was there any other officer with Officer Baker?
I can't remember, but most likely it was another person there because of a fight call with a weapon.
Okay. And this was again at 1371 Kimberly Way.
That is correct.
Is that a residence?
I believe it's an apartment complex.
Do you know whose apartment specifically you or Officer Baker responded to?
So I did write, I believe it's going to be Ashley Cascade Apartments. Yes, I think that's the name of the location.
Was it Miss Drain's residence?
No, apparently it's a family member of Mr. Huff.
And do you happen to know the identity of that family member?
No, nobody would cooperate. I only have a name of Mr. Rico, and I never was able to speak to him.
All right. First time hearing that name. Do you know how Mr. Rico was involved with this case at all?
So Mr. Rico, I believe his mother had passed and they were having something at the apartment that day. So that night. So that's the only thing I can tell you from what Ms. Ms. Drain had told me, advised officers, I believe as well. So the officers did knock on the door multiple times to see if they could get anybody inside to come speak to them, at least to verify some more information, because she did have injuries, I believe, at that time that the officer saw. So there was something that we needed to speak to someone at the home.
All right. To your knowledge, was there anyone else who would have witnessed this fight?
All I know is going to be the victim. Possibly Mr. Rico, I have no idea because nobody wants to cooperate. Tasha, I believe, and a young lady named Quisha. No one would actually give me information. They're kind of like, I don't want to. Like they'll spoke to me on the phone, but they won't continue on with anything. So it's basically, the victim's word against the suspect.
All right. And that would also mean that there's no video footage of any sort of fight happening?
No, I did call the location. They only have cameras in the front of the building, none on the property.
Oh, whoa. One moment, Chad. Thank you. Moving on, was the gun ever recovered?
No, sir.
All right. Is there body cam footage of the initial interview that Officer Baker had with Ms.
Yes,
Drain?
I had to view that. That was about a year ago, over a year ago.
Sure. And that was recorded, right after that officer had arrived?
I believe so, because he took the police report, yes.
Okay. And in that, Ms. Drain had mentioned that she was essentially assaulted with a sawed-off shotgun. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Did Ms. Drain mention having any experience with firearms?
No, she did not.
Did Ms. Drain mention any sort of struggle or argument that preceded the physical actions?
Well, I believe a argument over her possibly cheating, but that was between her and the suspect. But no actual physical or anything other than that.
All right. Did Officer Baker speak with anyone else at the scene?
So all I remember is him speaking to Miss Drain because they knocked on the door and no one would come to the door. Apparently it happened inside the apartment. So a lot of people don't want to get involved, especially when police come around and someone's actually injured inside a home that they don't live at.
All right. After that, you mentioned that the case was essentially transferred to you. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you spoke with Ms. Drain yourself?
Yes.
Was it a phone interview or did she see you in person?
It was a phone interview.
Do you remember about what day you all spoke?
The 28th.
The 28th. So
of November 2021.
Understood. Okay. And you mentioned that she sent you a picture of her injuries?
That is correct.
Okay. And are those pictures a part of the evidence packet for this case?
I did put it there, yes.
In that phone interview, did she again corroborate that she had been assaulted by a shotgun?
That is correct, she did.
All right, and was it you who showed Miss Drain, Mr. Huff's Georgia ID?
Yes, it was just a picture of it. It was a picture, a updated picture of it. Yes.
So the judge said he would wait 10 minutes. I appreciate it though. Thank you.
All right. Afterwards, did you speak with Mr. Huff yourself?
No, I believe I tried to call again and there was no answer. So there was no, he already talked to him once. I never was able to get back in contact with him.
Okay, when did you speak with Mr. Huff then?
I called the number on the 29th. She provided a number and advised that I spoke to him by the phone number that Miss Drain provided. He advised that he did not attack her. He believed there was another boyfriend who injured her and stated that he was in a shelter and hasn't been around her. He did provide the name of the shelter at all.
He did not provide the name of the shelter. All right, I kind of have to clarify here. So you mentioned speaking with Miss Drain on November 28th.
That is correct.
And you just said now you spoke with Mr. Huff November 29th?
The next day, yes.
Next day. Okay. Did you draft these warrants against Mr. Huff?
Yes, I did, sir.
Do you know when you drafted these warrants?
That is correct. Of the December 15th, 2021.
One moment. All right. Thank you, Detective Edwards. Those are all my questions.
Okay.
All right. Anything else?
Nothing further from the state, Your Honor.
All right, anything else for this detective?
No, Your Honor, not from me.
All right. Thank you, officer. Stay safe out there.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right, go ahead with the argument.
Your Honor, I'll waive the first part of it and just
All right,
do the second part.
go ahead, Mr. Rhodes. All right, so find probable cause. on
Your Honor, I'm
both.
going to ask for a couple of other charges, if that's all right.
Okay.
Yeah, of course you do. As you know, that the warrants are for aggravated assault and possession of a firearm during commission of a felony. I believe that you heard testimony on a battery, sufficient for a battery, as well as possession of firearm by convicted felon, as well as possession of a sawed-off shotgun, which is OCGA 16-11-122. Your Honor, you heard testimony from the investigator who advised that the victim, Miss Drain, knew the defendant, had a relationship with him for over 2 years. She advised that he hit her multiple times in the head and the face with the butt of the shotgun. Officers were able to observe her injuries, and as well as she was able to send a photograph of her injuries, the victim was, to this investigator. And I believe that it's sufficient for probable cause for those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 charges.
All right, anything else?
Nothing from the state, Your Honor.
Mr. Rhodes?
Clarify again, you're trying to add now a battery charge, special sauce,
I'm sorry, I can't hear Mr. Rhodes.
Sorry, that microphone, wiggle it. I mean, tap it. No, look, do that down here. All right, is it green? Is it green on there? Okay, well, then stand at the podium.
All right.
Yeah. It was working this morning. I think somebody touched it a little too hard. Not you, somebody else obviously messed up. Go ahead.
Again, just clarify.
Yes.
What were the charges you're seeking on adding?
So aggravated assault, battery, possession of a firearm during commission of a felony, possession of firearm during convicted, by a convicted felon,
All right.
and then also possession of a sawed-off shotgun.
Understood. Judge, in regards to the additional battery charge that the state is seeking to add, we've only heard testimony about one act of just, an assault with a shotgun. There's no additional act that would, cause an additional charge of a battery. And as for the sawed-off shotgun charge, I asked the witness, explicitly if Miss Drain had any experience with weapons, enough to know the difference between a shotgun or a sawed-off shotgun or anything of the sort. Also, and the detective responded no, that Miss Drain had no or a prior experience with weapons, but also no shotgun was actually recovered. So I don't think there's enough probable cause to actually demonstratively indicate or show that a sawed-off shotgun was in possession there. So I asked that there be no probable cause for that charge, as well as the additional battery charge that the state is seeking.
Your Honor, may I reply?
Sure.
Your Honor, I believe it was clear testimony that the investigator mentioned that he hit her multiple times. It was not just with the shotgun, but he punched her in the face as well. And she said, I believe the back of the head as well. So I believe there's sufficient for a battery, definitely, Your Honor. As well as, I believe the question was asked that if she had asked Miss Drain if she had any firearms, and I believe the investigator said, no, she didn't ask. Again, I don't think this is relevant. I think anybody, any lay person can tell the difference between a regular shotgun and a sawed-off shotgun due to the barrel being smaller, a lot shorter. But as Your Honor knows, and as the court is aware that, especially in DV cases, Your Honor, the defendants usually flee anyway, and not finding a gun is not enough, Your Honor, to not find probable cause for a firearm, Your Honor, in this case. And so we believe that, that from the testimony, all of the 5 charges are supported by testimony.
Mr. Rhodes, where's he gonna live? I know before on the previous bond, he didn't have an address. You know if he has one now?
One moment, Judge.
Uh-huh.